Hi, Andy. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm really excited to hear more about your story and journey and what you're currently doing in the nonprofit space. So, if you could please introduce yourself and tell us what kind of work you're focused on right now.
Great. I am Andy Rubinson, pronouns he, him, and I'm the executive director of Pride in Our Workplace. We are a Boston based nonprofit focused on LGBTQ plus workplace inclusion. So we work with employee resource groups, with diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging practitioners in creating welcoming workplaces, create a community and network of folks that can support each other to do this important work.
I love that. That is important work. Thank you for doing that. That's awesome. So, what drew you into this work in the first place?
So I actually came from the for-profit world. I worked for a large global software company where I led their Pride employee resource group. So that was, when I say large, it was 8,000 members, 45 chapters across the globe, had a 20-member team of folks working on, marketing, events, finance, talent attraction, all the things that you do. So that's where I first got it. And that was we have a joke that you have in that role with ERGs, a day job and a gay job. So I was doing product management for the software company, and then that extra hat of being the employee resource group leader as well. And I really loved that. More so than some of the more work that was taking up the bulk of my time. And so I made a conscious decision that I really wanted to maybe see if I could find a way to make my day job and gay job the same thing. And I was just really extremely lucky to find this amazing role. Had been doing some networking and happened to speak with a member of our advisory committee. So it was really just fortuitous that I came across this, and I've been loving it.
That's awesome. I find so often people in nonprofit find their way through a volunteer opportunity or something that they did in school or some other activity where, it was just a side hobby and then they found themselves into the work because they were so passionate about it. So I love that that's how you're able to marry those two things together. That is wonderful. So I'm curious then, what's one challenge, shift, or tension that you're currently noticing in their sector? How are you making sense of it, navigating it, or learning through it, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, as many folks know, especially here I'm in the U.S., and so there's definitely been some heavy pushback on diversity,
Mhm.
equity, and inclusion, especially with current administration. So it's there's definitely headwinds, what we'll call it. There's been pushback, and we're just trying to help folks navigate through that. As we work with a lot of corporate sponsors that have employee resource groups that are trying to navigate this
Mhm.
somewhat tricky situation. Definitely have challenges with the funding of these things and how they're handling the topic altogether. So it's been an interesting thing. I'm happy to say that I've been doing this for about a year and a half now, and we've been lucky that most of the folks that we've worked with have really been staying the course. And I think what we've seen is that many organizations are recognizing the value of inclusion, the importance of employee resource groups in terms of employee satisfaction, retention, et cetera. So the work continues. Sometimes things need to get reframed, some different terminology, ensuring that they're inclusive of all, so that you're not having exclusive, like only LGBTQ plus folks can be part of this group. It's and really that just kind of highlights the importance of allyship and
Mhm.
the need to have more than just the marginalized groups as part of the solution to feeling included.
Yeah, that's fair, and that's a really important tension point that you've raised. I think there's a lot of organizations that are experiencing that, and some aren't navigating it as well, or they're not having the opportunity to navigate it as well as maybe your organization. And I love hearing that there are still corporations and people that are willing to invest in it because that has been something that we've heard a lot of in the nonprofit Hive space specifically that there's a lot of just cuts happening across the board. So the fact that there are corporations and companies who are still willing to fund and find that they know the value is there, obviously, is really refreshing to hear. And it's also, I like you kind of named a critical component is like making sure that the language is inclusive to all, and being thoughtful about how you kind of frame certain aspects on when you're talking about things. I think has to be a shift. It doesn't have to be a shift, but it's the reality that a lot of organizations I think are facing right now.
Yeah, and we're lucky in the sense that we don't rely on government funding. I know there are
Yeah,
many
great.
other nonprofits that do and that have had major impacts as a result of the current cutbacks and things and funding pullbacks. So it's we're lucky in that regard, but I know that many others are facing and looking for like how do we fund the things that we've been funding with the government support that's no longer there.
For sure. And I've heard from a few folks like they're now applying for grants, which they wouldn't have normally applied for in the past. And then talking to grantors, they're like getting bombarded with people and organizations where they don't even have an opportunity to like follow up with individuals to say yes or no, and here's why. It's just this like kind of black hole of you just don't hear back, and or the timeline for these types of gifts are delayed significantly. So
And even
um
that creates a challenge for us
100%.
because now we're competing, so even
For
if
sure.
we weren't with the government, now we're competing with more folks that are looking to other, foundations and other sources that we're looking at. So now all of a sudden it's even more challenging to kind of stand out in that selection process.
I think just holding into like your values is even more important, and finding your community and your champions, I guess, within your organizations, I think is just that much critical. So even with those challenges, those are big challenges, but what's bringing you energy or hope lately? This could be a person, project, shifting conversation, or something you're really seeing people do differently.
Well, I mean, honestly, like I kind of alluded to before, like I just love this work. I love that we have created a community of different employers. So the fact that we're able to bring folks together, especially in a time where folks don't necessarily feel safe, either in the workplace or in their communities, and being able to kind of create a safe space for folks, I think has been great. So we've seen that people really are uh, desiring to kind of have
Mhm.
that sense of community where they can have other folks that will support them, that make them feel included, obviously, but where they can feel that they can be themselves without the sense of like, am I going to be fired? Am I going to lose my housing and so forth? So that to me is one of the really encouraging things, and just the fact that we're able to kind of help folks that are doing this work. People are on different stages of the journey, and being able to connect those that maybe have a little bit more experience and those that have less to be able to do things. So I'll actually give you a little story and a shout out to nonprofit Hive. Is that coming into this, I'm a year and a half now into the nonprofit world after being in for-profit. And one of the things that I did early on, even before I got this role, was in joining the nonprofit Hive, meeting folks that have the expertise that I didn't have, and kind of this one-on-one networking that I found very valuable. So I actually incorporated that concept into our network. So taking for our sponsor organizations, the ERG leaders, the diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging leaders, basically having them fill out a form that shares, where can you provide knowledge and guidance, and where do you need knowledge and guidance, and then matching them up together in one-on-one. Because when we were doing our events and things, we had events where networking took place and people could chat with one another, but it's you're standing around nibbling, having a drink, and having the quick 5-minute chats, which doesn't really give you the depth of like, hey, I really want to share ideas of what we're doing, what's been working for us. So the thought was, let's leverage this methodology. Let's connect folks that are doing this and give them a chance to have a deeper conversation to make that connection and hopefully turn into a longer ongoing exchange of ideas and thoughts. So you were my inspiration in that regard.
That's amazing to hear. There's so much, I find so much value in those longer conversations, and 5-minute networking opportunities are great to very like surface quick introductions, like that elevator pitch. And
Yeah, the speed dating,
yeah, exactly.
speed networking. Okay.
Yeah. But I'm curious then. So why do spaces for connection and community matter so much in this work? I know we talked about like the opportunity to dive deeper, but what is the root of that, I guess?
I mean, I think a lot of what drives it for us is I think a little bit of that feeling of not being safe or not be, wanting to ensure that we can be our authentic selves. So if somebody is in the workplace and they're, because I think I was looking at a stat earlier today about 50% of folks, and this was I believe from the Williams Institute at UCLA, 50% of folks that aren't out to their like direct supervisor in the workplace that are LGBTQ plus. And so it's working in this environment where like folks don't even feel safe saying that they're a part of the LGBTQ plus community, much less just, and that takes up so much time and energy trying to either cover or pretend or to not be thinking about that. It takes away from people being able to focus on the work at hand. So that's why it's been so important to have this. And so knowing that we're supporting the ongoing running of the employee resource groups and creating these places of inclusion for folks, it basically gives them that peace of mind, that comfort of knowing that they can just be who they are, be appreciated in their workplace, and be valued for the skills and the things that they bring to the table, even if it's of diversity of opinion and viewpoints. I think when you're with an organization that values that, people can feel it, and that it's okay. It's okay if you don't necessarily march to the beat of everyone else's drum.
So true. I am a huge proponent of listening to diverse perspectives and trying to hear outsiders or individual opinions about certain aspects, because it's always brought a new perspective for me. And it's made me think about something a little differently. So depending on background or whatever it is, I have always found value in those conversations, and it always makes me approach how I operate through life a little differently. And I didn't appreciate how like the type of weight, that's a pretty big stat, 50% of people not being able or feeling comfortable to come out to their employer. That must be a heavy weight, not to be able
Yeah.
to feel like you're your true self everywhere you are. That's
Absolutely.
big.
Having to switch pronouns, and it's a real dress differently than you
Yep,
feel comfortable, all those types of things.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Andy. This has been a really great conversation and just a little insight into some of the cool work that you're doing. But I'd love for everybody to get a sense, if they want to dive deeper, where they can find you and more about your workplace or the work that you're doing.
Yes, well, we are at PIOW.org. That's Pride in Our Workplace, PIOW.org. And we are also on LinkedIn. That's our primary social media outlet, because it is, employee based work that we do. And we felt that was the best way to find our audience. So those two things, I definitely encourage you, if this is something that you're interested in, if workplace inclusion for the LGBTQ plus community is important to you, definitely sign up for our mailing list. We have a lot of events and things in the Boston area, but we also put out a lot of just information, communications thought leadership on the topic that I think folks would find very valuable if that's their what they're into.
I love it. Thank you so much for all that great information. Andy, always a pleasure. And yeah, thank you again.
The pleasure is mine.
Thank you.
Thank you.